Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. I am Jillian and I am so excited for today's video because we have one of my favorite guests ever with us. We have AJ Dipka from the Hungry People podcast, and we are going to be talking about what it's like to be a raw vegan in the dating world. So all things dating as a raw vegan, and maybe some tips and some inspiration for you guys. So let's get started. You'll want to stick around to the end. It's going to be a good one. Let's say hello to AJ. Hey AJ, how's it going?
Hey, Jillian. Life is moving fast, going crazy, but it's so nice to settle down, sit here with you, and talk about something that I think is really important to talk about.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this topic. So AJ actually had the idea for this topic, and I think it's a really, really good one. I actually posted about this in the raw vegan group I belong to not so long ago, a few months ago now, I guess, asking in the group, as a raw vegan, would you only date? I was curious in general with vegans or raw vegans if they would only date fellow raw vegans or vegans. And the overwhelming majority said yes, they would only date a vegan or a raw vegan unless they had already been in a relationship that kind of grew out of that, but they wanted to stay with that person. So I'm wondering, what about you, AJ? Where do you stand on this? Like, now that you're mostly raw vegan, but overall vegan, would you date somebody who is a meat eater?
Well, I would 100% date someone that ate whatever they cared for. To me, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just a plus, to be honest. If they were to eat healthier and be into the things I'm into, as far as eating goes, just makes everything a little bit easier and simpler, because then it's like you're not preparing two different meals. But I came from having relationships where it's like I really invested in them being more vegan or caring more about their health, and it just was a big strain on the relationship. And then I found that when I was dating other people, when they weren't raw or they weren't vegan, it actually ended up working out better because there was none of that. If they did eat healthier, they did eat more plants. It was on their own accord, and then it was both less stressful on both parties. So for me, it doesn't actually bother me. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah, no, you're the same. I'm the same as you. It doesn't bother me either. I mean, my marriage, like being married, when I was married, we were both like pretty carnivore for the most part. And then I turned raw vegan about 5 years ago. And so it was a pretty big difference, but he was so supportive of my lifestyle and my choices and stuff. And it was fine. But I think that's what really started to cause maybe some problems without realizing it. It was just such a difference in lifestyle that started because I stopped
Right.
eating and I stopped just going out to eat. And but he's been great and he's supportive about it. But definitely, like, I wouldn't limit relationships to only somebody who is vegan or raw vegan. I think a lot of people would, but to me, like, you fall in love with who you fall in love with too. But at the same
100%.
time, I think down the line, it might be hard to maintain a good relationship and hard to maintain that if you have such drastic lifestyle differences. Like, I mean, if the other person was eating meat multiple times a day and maybe drinking and stuff too, I think it would be very hard in the long run to be in a partnership with that, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think the drinking for me would be in a different category just because
Mm.
food is necessary. I've talked with someone before that kind of like opened my brain up a little more to the fact that like even McDonald's is still food. People will compare like a cheeseburger to cigarettes, and it's like you don't need cigarettes. If you were starving out in the wild and there was a cheeseburger, it would actually help you to live longer. It's still nourishment, even if it's not the best quality ever. So I do personally like to separate drinking habits and smoking habits from food habits. And I do think a drinking habit would affect a relationship for me more than dietary habits.
Mhm.
One of the other reasons why I don't like to interfere with how other people are eating anymore is just because there's so many little factors to eating, whether it be the stress levels, someone's needs, someone's understanding, if they're going to eat enough, etc., that I wouldn't want to be the result of them losing health in an attempt to gain health and go
Mhm.
against their own natural instincts of what they want.
Mhm.
So I find that also saves a lot of stress in the relationship.
I
But
I think the best approach in life, like, to have a good relationship, you have to be supportive of exactly what that person wants for themselves. You know, if you're trying to change someone, I mean, over time, if somebody's not raw vegan and they're with the raw vegan, they're probably going to adopt a lot more healthy habits. but maybe not so much if you're telling them. Like, I don't like to tell anybody how to eat or like control how people eat or control people in any way. And if you know what I mean, it's
Oh
just
yeah.
not good
And
for it.
and the thing is, like, I come from the experience of it. I was the one that's like, you need to drink more water. You need to, eat more carbs. You need to, be a vegan and stuff. And I just burned out on that completely. I don't think it was helpful for myself, for my own mental well-being or the people involved. And I
Yeah.
definitely steer away from that just because, like I said, you and I talked about the whole Elise Parker thing. And it's like some people just don't know how to make certain things work. And I might get an amazing result from bananas. And I like don't do that well on grapes, but someone else does amazing on grapes and doesn't do well on bananas. And it's fine. Like it's
Mhm.
fine. And people like to put their own stamp on that, like, oh, it's because you're not this, because you're not detox, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
Yeah.
who really knows? For
Yeah.
anyone wondering, just so your audience knows, I'm drinking a Robert Morse's Heal All tea.
Sure.
Just
I
for
did.
anyone that's curious, I'm not a coffee drinker.
Yeah, no, I agree with you though. And I forget what I was going to say. You know what? Usually this is going to be a very candid interview today and discussion because usually I actually prepare for my interviews. So today I didn't. I thought we'd do a little bit more candid. And I think it's funny because AJ and I are not definitely not experts when it comes to dating. My relationship world has been a bit of a disaster the last couple of years, but it's in a good place now. But I'm excited for this topic anyway. And I was saying to AJ the other day, I wonder if people actually have, if there's an app, because in this world we live in now, right? If there's an app for vegans or raw vegans. But then I started thinking last night, like, I feel like raw vegans or vegans, maybe they're not the type that want to even go on an app. But even is there an app for that? I don't even think I would go on it, but does that even exist?
So,
Definitely comment down below too if you know if it exists. But does it exist, AJ?
so I've heard that Ted Carr and like that group that he's involved with, that friend group, they were working on some kind of like honeybee raw vegan dating app. I don't know if it was ever launched.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could find out, or I could find out. But just to go off what you were saying, yeah, we're not the most prepared. But again, this is like the such an interesting topic, and I actually am very excited as well to talk about it. And I was wondering now would be a good time to transition into maybe some of the experiences if you've had any, or I can go into mine as well, of like
Yeah,
being
sure.
vegan or being raw vegan and actually some of the struggles and challenges with that.
Yeah, so well, I've told everyone on my channel, my husband and I separated after I think we were together for 20 years. Together
Wow.
since I was 17. So we separated a couple years ago. And like I said, our lifestyles, I changed a lot. My lifestyle changed a lot. But like I said, he was always really supportive and amazing with it and everything. But we sold everything to move to Costa Rica. And I had a baby and she was 5 or 6 at the time, my oldest. And it just created so much chaos. I'm the type that likes a home base. I'm not the backpacker type right now at this point in my life. And I kind of went against my gut. And that just created a lot of chaos and a lot of strain on the relationship as well. So it just kind of, we ended up separating. And after that, I mean, I've had no desire, I had no desire to get into the dating world. And then about a year after we split up, I went off the raw wagon for a little bit. It was my birthday, like a year and a
Ooh.
half, it was a year and a half ago. And I was like, I ate some cooked food. I was drinking coffee. I actually had a little bit of wine. And then I was like, oh, let me get Tinder. But I would never do that. If I was on like this raw vegan frequency, I would never do that. So I literally got it. I went on it for like a week. My raw vegan friends were like, get off of there, Jill. But I'm like, whatever, I'm going to try it. But what I eat, it changes me and it changes the things I do and the things I attract. So if I'm like high on coffee, drinking some wine, I'm going to do different things than I do if I'm on like this raw frequency that I'm on now, right? So I met some people on there and I was like, oh, I can expand it. I'm like, she's in New York. I love New York, these other places. And I met a few people, but then when I got off my raw or back on raw and stuff, I was just like, what am I doing? I got off all that, but it wasn't for me. It's not for me. I don't like it. I do not like the dating app world. So I stopped. And then I kind of realized, you know what? I'm not the type to like go chase things like that. I think the right relationship, no matter what diet you're on, it will come to you in the right time. You don't have to go chase it. So I got off of that. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about my dating life. I don't really know what to say about it right now.
Well, just one little thing to intercept there. Did you find that your diet affected the dating itself, or you just didn't have that issue?
Well, actually, the people I met, like there was one guy I met and he lived in New York. I wasn't able to see him because of the state of the world, because of not being able to travel and stuff like that. And then there just hadn't been anybody else that I wanted to felt enough connection to go out with. I mean, there were a couple people and there was one guy I went out with, and I don't know. I don't know. It's
Just
different
doesn't
being
feel
raw
right.
vegan. Probably if I wasn't raw vegan, the connections would be stronger. I would have met somebody by now. But to me, like taking care of myself comes first. The right thing will happen. I don't know. My ex-husband and I are in a really good place. I don't know what to say about my dating life, but we can maybe move on right now and talk about yours too.
Yeah, sure. Actually, talking about the challenges, the only challenges came from when I was just restricting too much and just unhealthy, underweight, and didn't have any testosterone or sex drive. That's the only time where this type of diet actually affected any type of relationship that I would have, because I was with my ex Isabella for 3 years, and it ended because I was just at such a low point, such a broken person. But other than that, I actually have nothing to say negative about this diet and dating. Actually, as well, I think that I've gotten more dates as a result of being raw vegan. I mean, you got to think that I don't like when people say, "Oh, there's there's 3 million women in the world. Like, there's so much options." It's like, yeah, you're never going to meet 3 million women, or 3 billion. I'm sorry, women in the world. We're limited to our social circles. We're limited to our surroundings and our environments and these things. And that's what you want to keep in mind. So really, just like in sales, I'm a salesman. You want to have your own little niche. You want to be the person that's involved with people that's in a specific area. For example, if you're selling homes or you're selling cars, you sell a specific type of car, you know that car inside and out, and you are the expert on that car, and you're the guy to go to on Toyota or whatever. And I feel the same way about this diet. Like, I've been involved in this community, this vegan, raw vegan, plant-based, whole food, detox, all of it for almost 8 years now. And I know the ins and outs of it pretty much. And I've talked to a lot of different people. And I found that it just creates so many more opportunities, because it's like people all are starting to know me more and more in these groups. So, I'm involved in Dan's support group. We're up to like 75 members right now on WhatsApp, and I host that. And I do a support group on Sunday nights. It's going to continue there, where we have anywhere from 5 to 25 people showing up. So it's like, okay, I have a little social group there. And then it's like Woodstock. I have the Woodstock Fruit Festival, where there's like 400 women to 200 guys or something, some crazy awesome ratio for guys, looking for to meet someone.
Yeah.
And, you have people at Woodstock that have gotten married. They met at Woodstock, they got engaged at Woodstock, and they got married there. And I remember listening to an episode of Beat Your Jeans with Doug Lyle, and he's like, that's how people meet. You get into hobbies, you're a part of a church. How can we expect to meet someone when we literally are never around people? And we meet people through jobs. These are all just things to keep in mind. So I have so many social circles involved with the raw vegan community. I mean, even this podcast, whether I'm coming on Jillian's YouTube channel or my podcast, the Hungry People podcast, I know it's just going to expand my financial relationships, business relationships, friend groups, potential partners. And that's how I actually think it's so much easier being involved with raw foods. I've given public speeches at raw food restaurants and things like that. It just really opened up so many doors for me. So I don't feel limited in that sense. I'm just looking for more opportunity whenever I can, to be supportive, or to be supported myself. And actually, the one story I did want to tell you, I don't know if you want to jump in and say anything.
No, I did just want to ask you though, when you first started out with that, were you saying that the raw vegan diet has affected your sex drive in a negative way? Is that what you're saying?
So yeah, so at first I was raw till 4. I was big freely enduring rider guy, and I would carb up. I was like, okay, I don't want to detox. I want to be part of that world. I don't want to restrict, because I was seeing like Harley during rider critique all these people who had no energy, who weren't fit, and he was like riding 350 miles on his bike a day and everything. And I was just like, wow. And I started eating like fruit all day and starch at night, and I felt so stable. I felt like really like, wow, I have control over my emotions now. I'm not freaking out because I'm not like, so hungry and whatever. But eventually I got to a point where I just felt really ill, and I couldn't handle eating all the food and calories. So I started getting more into the Robert Morse thing, but I took too many things literally. And if I was actually working with someone, or if I actually was paying attention to my own wants and needs, I wouldn't have just done just fruit for so long and got myself so emaciated. And eventually I could handle less and less food. And yeah, I'm 6 foot right now. I'm 153 pounds, but I went down to 113 pounds, and I'm
Wow.
already skinny. So imagine me 40 pounds later, which is a scary thought. But I had
Yeah.
yeah, for 8 months I had zero sex drive at all.
Wow, crazy. That's the
Yeah,
thing. It's so important that you do what feels right for you. Maybe if you're inspired
right.
by someone and you want to try something, that's great. But you can tell after some time if it's not working for you. And I think it's important to shift gears and definitely do what works for you. But I mean,
Yeah,
for me, the raw vegan diet in general, I have a great sex drive. Like, if anything, it's gone up. It's probably different though. If like in the past when I was consuming coffee, that would bring out different things in me, or like wine or the things like maybe different sexual habits that I'm not so drawn to now. Like, I'm not going to get into specifics, obviously,
feel free to share.
but I definitely have a high sex drive as a raw vegan. And I mean, a lot of raw vegans say they lose their period, this and that. I'm lucky. My period is like every 28, 29 days. It's in cycle. Like, I ovulate on the full moon. It's like totally in sync with the universe. And my sex drive is great. So I'm thankful for that most of the time, unless there's not a good partner around, then sometimes it's a bit frustrating, but
Right.
whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, continue on.
Yeah, but then from there, what eventually I found DTM, and I sent him a message and I said, "Hey, I need help, bro." Like, I had watched his videos for maybe a few months. So we sent him a message. He reached out. I got a consult with him, and he's like, "Dude, when you do like Robert Morse stuff, it's supposed to be for like 2 or 3 months. You're not supposed to like try to live on like detox mode." He said, "You need
Mhm.
greens, you need green juice, you need some avocados, you need pyridine protein." Literally that day, I went out, I got a fresh green juice made for me, and I got a salad with avocado and raw vegan dressing and whatever. I ate it. My sex drive was back that day. I was just so
Wow.
low in fat and protein and salt and
Yeah.
minerals. And literally that day it just came back, and I couldn't believe it. I was so in a way excited, but also just, what did I just do for the last 8 months? I mean, I detoxed my apartment away, my car away, my girlfriend away, my self-respect. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I lost a lot of things, but I didn't gain any health as a result.
Yeah.
But just to back it up for 1 second, when I was raw till 4, normal sex drive completely. I had a beautiful girlfriend. It was
Yeah.
great, but I would find that times I was someone who got undercarbed easy. I don't know if you even know what that means, Jillian, but for you or your audience, like, it's kind of like when you're hangry, like you're
Yeah.
cranky. If you eat, you'd actually just balance out. And I could be in the middle of making love, and I'd have to go downstairs and get some more dates or some carbs just to like, okay,
Wow.
go back and like
Because you just feel
finish
like you need more food all the time.
all the time. And the reason I bring that up is because when I met someone through Chronic Raw, which is another event. And when we were making love, I was more on the green juice and the salads. I was like 115 days raw at that point. I
Mhm.
mean, could have it that night, the next morning, zero issues at all. And it wasn't the calories, it was literally the minerals. I believe that because the green juice, I always say to MP and stuff, I'll eat fruit if I want to lower mine, but if I want to like jack it up real high, I'll drink more green juice because it literally works better than anything. I don't know if it's the blood flow thing, the minerals,
Wow.
whatever it is, but
Yeah.
night and day, I almost can't drink green juice if I'm just going to be like, if I don't have a girlfriend. It's like, all right, just keep it over here.
Well, it does. Green juice does so much for you. I love it. It makes you just feel so electric and so alive. Like, that must be why. And it's just
It's
crazy how
incredible.
everything affects us, and how if we're missing certain things, maybe things won't function at their best, and it'll affect our sex drive or affect this. And it's interesting to
Right.
me. It's interesting. Now it makes me want to study more foods that affect the sex drive. I'm going to do that today.
Yeah, and especially for the people who are struggling with it, I would say like some more fat. Don't be afraid of fat, especially a healthy fat, whether it's
Mhm.
Jillian's all about the chia seeds now. I've been doing them too. They're working actually really well. The avocados, the olive oil, like a good filtered raw olive oil,
Yeah.
olives, just these things, just to give you some nourishment, not just sugar. Like, sugar is good, sugar is
Mhm.
fuel, fitness, all this kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
man, it's night and day. This stuff just
Wow,
completely brought me to life, and it improved
incredible.
every aspect of that part of my life.
Well, that's great. And I'm glad you're able to have a good sex drive on the raw diet and you didn't give up and just think this isn't working. There's no sex drive now. I'm done. You know what I mean?
Well,
Because I
even when I
think
do cooked food now, it drops compared to if I'm raw. It's completely up.
yeah, wow, that's interesting. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I do want to say too, as a raw vegan, I was just thinking when you're talking about something a couple minutes ago about this, I feel like as a raw vegan too, I feel like in the dating world, like I feel like I'm pursued so much more, like night and day, like so much
Wow.
more now that I'm raw vegan. And I think it's just because like I feel so happy. And I feel like this diet just makes me feel so happy. So I feel more in alignment with myself and the thing, my passions and what I want to work on. And I think that makes you a more magnetic person. Like, so I think no matter what your diet is, that it's just so important first that you work on yourself. And if you want to be with an amazing person or be with a happy person or be with a loving person, then you need to become that first and be that happy, loving, giving, amazing person. And really like focus on you first before you even think about dating. I think like especially if you're in a low place, like there is no point even thinking about any apps or any dating. Like just definitely find your passion. And then, I follow Aaron Dowdy on YouTube. I don't know if you know him, but I
Mm-mm.
used to follow him and used to watch a lot of his stuff. And he posts a lot about how you attract what you are. When he was working jobs he wasn't happy with, he was attracting relationships of other girls who were doing jobs they weren't happy with. And like now that he's focusing on his passions, he attracts that type of relationship as well. So I just think there's something to be said about no matter what your diet is, that you definitely focus on yourself first, your passions, and just making yourself like the happiest you can be, the best you can be inside and out. And then the right relationship will come at the right time.
Yeah, and you're also going to be able to sustain that relationship. You know how many times like people fake it to make it, and then everything falls apart as a result of that. The most success I've ever had is like you said, when I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling strong, when I'm feeling healthy, when I'm feeling confident, when I'm, comfortable in my financial situation, when I'm overall just doing really well, then it's like I can handle and be a part of a real relationship. But
Mhm.
when you have all these things and you're coming into the relationship with all these problems, the other person has their own problems. They don't need more problems. So it's always going to, put a strain on there. So Jillian, I completely 100% agree. I think it's really important. And not even just your best self, because that's of course the most important, but also just feeling healthy. I mean, people don't want to be around someone who, is always upset, is always sick, is always XYZ. It's really important
Mhm.
to feel good because you want to actually have fun with that person.
Mhm. Definitely. And I mean, that's what this diet does. You just feel so good and happy all the time. And like you're excited to have fun with that person and do things all the time? It's a big difference for
Yep.
me versus when I wasn't raw, just feeling kind of like, oh, about everything. Like, oh, it's a 2 hour drive. I don't want to do that. Now I'm like, sure, I love to drive. Let's listen to music. Let's do this. Right. It's just like,
Oh yeah, I love
it's
the
a new
drive
life.
too.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as dating goes, like I said, I mean, there hasn't been too much dating, but I
Are you
mean,
hopeful? Are you hopeful?
and I mean, I know some people are just like, I am only gonna date a raw vegan, which I totally get and I totally respect. And I think people like Markus and Cara, like, look at them. They like,
Yeah,
how did
right.
they even like it's so rare to eat this way, right? They just fate. How the heck did they even meet? I think they met in like a Home Depot or something too. Like she was reaching for something and he was like, can I help you? Like, what a story, right? Those two are just meant
Right.
to be. And I think obviously that's like amazing and like a dream for most raw vegans to have that. But I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
ideally I would personally just want something similar because I want our ethics and ideals to be similar. Actually, in the group, the
Mhm.
Patreon group, the WhatsApp group, there's a woman named Nicole in it. Hey Nicole, if you're watching. And she's married to her husband for like 40 years and they're just still completely in love. That she told me they still hold hands like every day and write notes to each other, and similar to like the Marcus and Cara thing. And it's just really
Yeah.
cool to see because it reminds you like, oh yeah, it's out there. You don't have to settle for some like shitty relationship.
Yeah. And you were saying they're both raw vegan or no? She is and he's not.
Well, they both have similar like eating habits. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what they do, but
Yeah. But I do
they
think,
both care about health. She actually stayed with Lou Corona before, so it's pretty cool.
oh, she did. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like him. I admire him. And I love his yogurt. I have his yogurt on my channel. The coconut almond yogurt.
Oh
It is
my
so
god, it's
good, full of
so yeah,
probiotics.
it's the
Makes you feel
best.
amazing.
I was doing like 3 jars a day of that.
Oh, wow. That's a lot, AJ. That's
Yeah.
good though. Well, yeah, I was trying to think, you know what else I think too with dating, and I think this is like, again, doesn't really matter what diet you're on, but on the raw vegan diet too. Do you ever listen to Bob Proctor? He talks about the vacuum effect. It's like a law of the universe, the vacuum law, and how in order to get something you want like that, you have to create space for it in your life.
I do know Bob Proctor. Actually, the last woman I had on the podcast, Chantel, she got me to like sign up for his email. He's doing like a 30-day thing and
Yeah.
videos every day. I think he has an amazing voice. I listened to him on Lewis Howes, and I thought it was a great interview,
Yeah.
but I don't know that much about him.
Yeah, but I think it's a cool law, and I like listening to stuff about that where you create space for the relationship too in your life. Like even I think he says to go as far as if you have a bed and there's pillows everywhere, like create the physical space for it too, and like create the space in your head, like stop like living in the past with past relationships, move past them in your head and in your environment, create space for that person as well. If you envision having them living with you, create space in the closet, do things like that. And I mean, I'm into all that too. I believe in all that as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard I just personally for myself, and I'm not saying you don't have this. I just feel like I have so many things going on that putting energy into that for myself, it would just be too much for the moment. I don't disagree with it, but I also it's just not one of my priorities.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's good you're focused on yourself. I'm the same way.
Well, I've learned a lot because of all of my struggles that like I would try to solve X problem with a Y solution.
Mhm.
And I'm actually just not that like I really do want to meet someone, but I'm also not even in the perfect place for it. And I know we never are, but I just feel like there's so many moving pieces that I wouldn't be able to be the best long-term partner right now, unless it was like such a good fit. Like I said, she's going to be making me lemon ginger blasts and gorilla milks and like supporting what's going on. But for me, yeah, there's a few areas that I have to focus on that's going to get me a much better result. You know, because I have some real weaknesses that need to be worked on. And I think that for stuff like that, for me, it's like extra credit. It's going to work for you and it's going to benefit you. But when you have something that's really needing to be addressed, I think that has to come first. And that's where I'm at right now. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. I'm the same. I feel like I'm not exactly in a position right now to, I don't know, you know, and my ex-husband and I, like, we're trying to work on having a really good relationship and a really good family, and things are really great with us. And we still have like that connection. We were together for 20 years. So we're working on that. And I don't know, things are good with that. I don't know.
Is there, do you have some kind of ideal partner that you have kind of thought, you know, through the secret type of mentality? Have you thought about like what you would want in a partner? What's ideal for you?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good question. And I think that's really great for people to do. But that actually isn't something I've been doing the last couple of years. I've just been so focused on like starting a new life since we split up, and like my life got kind of turned upside down, and just focusing on my passion, starting my channel. I've just been totally focused on myself and repairing the relationship with my children's father and everything there. But no, I mean, I haven't given much thought to it, but I guess it would be something I would going forward.
Was there anything on the top of your head? Not that you have.
Well, after I figure out the status with my on the top of my head, I don't know, because still sometimes I think like it would be nice to work things out with my children's father and be a family, even though we have a totally different lifestyle. Like we still have that deep connection there, and we still have like just I love him so much, and I think it doesn't matter what the diet is. I still have like such a deep love for him. But if it wasn't with him and like things didn't work out, then I guess the ideal relationship would be like definitely someone who is focused on their passions and loves what they're doing for sure, and is really happy and confident. And I mean, it would be great to be with somebody who's funny and somebody who takes care of themselves like as much as possible. Not perfect, I'm not saying like somebody would have to take care of themselves as much as to the level that I do or like this extreme, but just somebody that takes care of themselves. I couldn't see myself with somebody who just totally didn't take care of themselves at all. Or so definitely somebody who's focused on their passions, like loves themselves, is like has a spiritual side, takes care of themselves, like definitely that sort of thing would be like. And I have to feel passion. I have to feel like passion and just like connection, and you know what I mean? Like I want to kiss you. Like there's passion there. And I think if it's not an absolute yes with somebody, then it's a no. If you're like, oh, I'm a little bit unsure, maybe, I think it's a no then.
That sounds like you know what you want to me.
I guess you're right.
That was a pretty detailed answer.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
No, I couldn't say it better. I mean, that was perfect.
Thanks.
What I got too caught up in myself, because I used to be into like the more like manifesting and things. And like I said, sometimes I put too much energy into that and not enough energy into the actual self-care part. So I feel like there is a tier of kind of what I want to focus on first. But if I were to give like a really simplistic version, because I used to be like, okay, ideally I want brown hair. Ideally I want like, 5'4". Ideally,
Really?
like
Wow. Cute.
like
Did
all
you
these
have like a
details.
picture on the vision board too?
No pictures, but like
Oh,
mental picture. And
yeah.
I think that could be good. But
Yeah.
let's be honest, if I met someone who was blonde, who was awesome and great person, and I loved her, I wouldn't just be like,
Yeah.
sorry, you don't fit the vision board.
Yeah. Totally. That's what happens a lot of times too.
Yeah, because you can't control for that. But I mean, it's good to know what you like and what you want. And I thought about it. I'm like, if I was going to put a simplistic version together, I would probably say like, I want someone who I find like very pretty. Like I want a pretty girl that I find attractive. I want someone who's sweet. I'm easygoing. You and I talk a lot, Jillian. I think you gather a little
Yeah.
bit of that. I mean, I have my moments, I have my stresses and, different relationships with different people, but overall, like I'm pretty chill. I don't want any drama. I just want to get along, have a good time.
Yeah.
Let's work together. Let's progress together. So I want, pretty. I want someone who's sweet. And I want someone who's loyal. I want someone who actually can stick with you through thin and thick and all that, and just
Yeah, like
actually be by your side. Committed. Just feel just as committed as you are, because I feel like a lot of people just give up too easily.
They do.
It's really sad.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, they do. I mean,
And this applies to like people in friendships and families. It's like people just write each other off, and it's like, cool, do what you want. I just personally am not that kind of person. I don't like that. I like to actually like put more in to try to save it, because even people I don't spend that much time with, I feel like, okay, we have this friendship, and to lose it, it just feels like it's unnecessary over something little and dumb.
Me too. I totally agree.
People aren't able to communicate. Like there's something called the crystal clear method, and I have to use it with MP sometimes, because we talk a lot. We have so much going on. There's a lot of miscommunication about like podcasts and times and different things. Nothing crazy, but both of us, the crystal clear method is you back the camera up so you have a full view of what's going on. Each person says exactly how they saw it and how they feel about it, and then both sides can see, oh, I had no idea. I thought this, that, and the other, and then I thought this, that. So then the guilt's taken away, the obligation's taken away, and everyone can see it for how it is versus what everyone's interpreting it to be.
Absolutely.
Because everyone's worried about them, how they look, and for themselves, when they tell a story, they're always going to paint themselves a little bit better, even if it's just a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know we were going to offer some tips. I know you were saying before we got on about people maybe, I mean, if they are dating and maybe they're going out with somebody who's not raw vegan, maybe making sure, obviously, this is probably something people know already, but having a place to go where you can get a good meal and stuff like that and still stay on your diet and not be tempted to maybe go off the diet for somebody. And I think too, like, I think if you're raw vegan and like that's true to you, I think it's really important too, if you're dating somebody who's not raw vegan, that they support that lifestyle.
Right.
In no way would I ever get into a relationship with somebody who is like, this is silly, what are you doing? And I mean, a lot of people probably have that attitude. I know somebody actually sent me on Instagram they meant to send it to somebody else, but it was when I was doing a watermelon cleanse, and they were like, they meant to send my post to somebody else and being like, this is crazy, look at her, this is silly, right?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, you didn't just do that. But we used to hang out all the time drinking and stuff before I became raw vegan, but then I kind of like stop talk whatever. But I think it's really important, like, to get into a relationship as a raw vegan. Like in most cases, this diet makes you thrive, you're living your best life. So don't let someone else bring you down by it or tell you that it's wrong or silly, because if they are, then I think it's probably not the best relationship for you. Don't you agree, AJ?
Yeah, I definitely mostly agree. I would say that getting into it sometimes, a lot of people who are vegans and raw vegans want to just shout from the rooftops, and I think there's a time and a place for that. Another thing to keep in mind is use a low keel strategy if you're dealing with someone that you feel a little uncomfortable with. Just say, hey, this is what I do, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
it is what it is. You don't have to dive into like, well, you can reverse heart disease and diabetes, and look at this person, she reversed her, breast cancer. I think
Yeah.
keeping it simple and keeping it away from an argument, just like, hey, I feel good on it, I look good, like, what's the problem? Like,
Yeah.
this is what I do, I enjoy it. Keep it simple. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really important to be able to go out to eat and feel like you're a part of the world. So what I was saying to Jillian, just to recap before we started, like, there's a few restaurants around me that I know are nicer, that are 100% plant-based, that there are healthy options. There's healthy whole food and raw vegan options, so that I can go there if I were to have a date, and it's like candle lit and it's a nice environment and jazz music. And it's nice to be able to go there, because if you just only bring her to a place where you get banana whips, how many times is that going to be fun and romantic, and she's going to have options and be excited?
What
And
is a banana whip? I don't even
it's
know.
kind of like a banana ice
Oh,
cream.
yeah. Banana ice cream. Oh, nice. You guys
Yeah.
have places down there where they sell banana whip? I'm in
Do
the
you
wrong
know
spot.
Arnold Kaufman?
No.
He owns this restaurant called Raw Capital of the World,
Wow.
Arnold's Way. It's about 45 minutes from me, and he's the home of the banana whip, and they got like all crazy kinds, carrot cake, blah blah blah. But it's a raw vegan restaurant. If you
That's
ever come over on this side, we would definitely have to go.
That's so awesome. Yeah, they have a great raw vegan restaurant close to me. It's about 15 minutes away. It's called Raw Aura. Best spot like ever. They have the best foods like falafel wraps, like pizzas, pastas. And it's good because they have everything too. So they've incorporated more things over the years too. They have like organic wines and stuff like that too, and a couple cooked items in case like you go on a date or bring somebody in who's like
Right.
wants to have that stuff too.
That's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
also, if you're ever in Chattanooga, Southern Squeeze, amazing. They have like a whole dessert section that's just raw, and it's donuts and brownies and Snickers
Wow.
bars, and all
That's
fresh
cool.
made in-house, really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But
Have you yeah,
yeah,
sorry, what were you
no,
gonna say? Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you. I was just going to actually say some tips that I have for people if they're eating healthy, if they're eating raw vegan. I
Mhm.
would say that the best things that you do: join a support group, whether it's dance, whether it's I know Shane has one, Facebook groups, whatever. Just kind of get involved, because actually the
Or our
first date,
future groups. We might have a future group. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, I'm definitely going to have one. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you are as well.
Yeah.
That'll be incredible.
But that's
Um,
true. I think a lot of people meet through those support groups too. And I think a lot of people
yeah,
end up meeting their spouse through those groups. Yeah.
100%, because you're getting so intimate and emotional and empathetic with all these people, and connecting on a way that you're not going to be able to in the real world. You're not going to run into people who are having some similar views and challenges. I mean, it's just a numbers game statistically. Um, the other thing I would say is to go to one event. If you go to one event a year, every single year I go to Woodstock or Pronic, I meet someone. Maybe it doesn't work out in the long term or last forever, but your likelihood and statistics go up very greatly, because you're around it, you're involved in it. You form your own little friend groups, you meet more people through that way, and it's great. So I would say pick an event. There's a fruit festival, I think, in Florida, Texas. I'm sure there's ones in Canada. I would say that there's vegan block party in Florida right now. I would love to go. MP and I are both busy at the moment, but we have our friends at Miami Fruit are there, and they got vendors. It's like they rent out a whole island in the Keys, and it's just a vegan event, vegan vendors and all kinds of
Wow.
stuff, parties, music. And we're definitely going to be going next year.
That
But
sounds
that's
awesome.
another great example. Like, people recluse themselves on this diet, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way, because you have your people. You have this opportunity to fit into a niche, just like if you're a runner and you join all these running groups. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be alone. I think the best tip on meeting someone is to get out there and just talk to more people.
Mhm. I agree. I think that's amazing. And on this diet, I mean, you want to, right? You're so social. I'm like that too. And before everything that's happening in the world, like I was traveling so much, going to New York, going here, like you meet more people, but even so, the world's getting a bit better and you can still get out and meet people now. And I think those are great tips, like going to these events and it's good to have those things planned and have things to look forward to like that. Like I'm already planning on going with my girlfriend Sophie down to Woodstock next year, hanging out with you. I'm so excited to go to Woodstock and it's good. Like it's good to always have these plans, things to look forward to.
It's going to be incredible. I think every single year that I go, it's better than the year before. And the first year I went was amazing. So for it to continue to get better, it just
Mhm.
shows that it's not slowing down, and you
Mhm.
always have new people coming in. So you never have to worry like, oh, I don't want to see this person, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the amount of opportunity you have from other people. And this isn't a thing where you use people. It's just a matter of fact that the more people you know, the better it is for you. In usually, I mean, think about, for me, all the best jobs I've ever gotten was through someone I knew. It was never just because I randomly applied somewhere randomly and it was so great. It's like,
True.
no, I went up and I talked to this person. They're like, hey, go here, talk to this guy, or, oh, I own this company. You seem like you're very diligent, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same way with relationships. You want to have that. People respect having, if you're outgoing, if you take care of yourself, if you are part of a friend group, if you're part of a social group, like this all shows like, hey, this person seems to be overall pretty cool. I mean, for him to be able to sustain all that or her sustain all that, it takes effort. This type of stuff you have to work at, just like your health. It may come easy at some points, but sometimes you got to stick to your guns and work at things and push through. And just like a good friendship or relationship, there's going to be some times that really mess you up. And the difference between the people who last longer and have that loyalty and diligence, they're going to come out on the other side with a stronger connection. Whereas the people that just gave up and ran away and just want to stay, by themselves and alone, I mean, it's just going to happen over and over again. So join something, be a part of a group. And if it's not working out, find a new one.
That's a good idea. Okay, to end it off, I was going to say, because I know you have to go soon, and thank you for being on. I love having you on. But I want to say, what about the people? Because I think there's some people out there who are raw vegan and maybe they feel lonely. They're like, I haven't met someone. It's been some time. And maybe they've considered like going back to the other side because they feel like I'm not connecting with people. Like, what would you say to somebody like that? Who's maybe, would you say like what you were talking about before, join a group? I still think like hang in there, work on yourself, and like the right person will come when they come. Even if I've had moments of feeling lonely and thought, oh, I connected with maybe my ex-husband or other people better when I would have a glass of wine or have this or that.
Right.
I mean, nothing beats the way you feel when you're raw, and in the right time, I think you will have the right relationship. And in the meantime, I think work on yourself and what you're passionate about.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I never was drunk in my life as growing up. Yeah. And it would have been so much easier to meet women if I actually drank or smoked weed or did any of that. And I never did. But so it does make it easier. That doesn't mean that you're going to meet the person that you want to meet, though. You have to set a standard for yourself. So many people have such low standards. There's a time and a place to be reasonable. And there's a time and a place to say, this is not okay. This is not what I stand for. I want better in my life. I'm not going to be abused. I'm not going to be belittled and be laughed at and people not have empathy for me. I'm a good person. I'm going to put in the effort to be better. I need the same from you. The more that you do that, the better you are going to be able to attract a person. And not only that, sustain it. Relationships don't have to last forever. I think a successful relationship is 5 to 10 years. If it actually lasts the entire time, that's of course the jackpot. But take the pressure off it having to last forever and focus on just being able to sustain it in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think it's amazing. Very well said, AJ.
Actually, one last thing. The first date I ever had was because I was vegan, because I went on something called veggiedate.com back in like 2013 or something like that. And so I went there. I had to drive like 45 minutes. And I was probably like 21 or 22. And this woman was like 29 or 30. And she was like, we had barely talked on the messaging. And I know it's cheesy, but I've always been about love. I've always been like, I want to meet the person. I want to be in love, blah, blah, blah. So I go there and she's like already getting undressed, wants a massage, is ready to go. And I'm just like, I don't even know you. So I was very just like, all right, I'm gonna head out, just because I was so disheartened. I'm like, is this how people are?
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did wait, just because I ended up meeting that person that was the perfect, starting point in my life for a relationship. But like I said, what divides us is also what magnifies who we are and our values. So you may feel alone, but really you stick out more because of who you are and what your values are. Don't be afraid to share them, and don't be afraid to look. It doesn't mean that take care of yourself. I completely agree with what you said, Jillian. The best way to sustain and be in a relationship is to be your best self. But you also do have to look. I don't think it's just going to like fall, into your lap once in a while. Maybe that happens, but you also have to look, put yourself out there, and just have fun with it. It's actually a great time. I don't go to Woodstock, with the intention of like, I'm going to meet my wife, but I am not ignorant to the fact that I could meet someone that's important to me.
Definitely. And I think sometimes it can take time before you meet like the right one and the perfect partner. I know the girl who does my colonics, well, she just moved to Mexico, but she's in her 50s and she didn't meet like this guy. Like they are just a perfect match. And like she went through all kinds of relationships, wasn't really happy with anybody until then. Like she didn't meet him until her 50s. So sometimes maybe that's just how it's supposed to be, and you're supposed to be doing other things, experience other things, but the right one likely you still will meet and have amazing relationships. And I mean, I like her story. She's in her 50s. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, then there's hotties at every age, so you never have to worry about that.
Yeah. True, very true, AJ. Well, thank you so much for being on today. And the viewers, thanks for watching. I do hope you guys gained some insight and some value. I love doing videos with AJ. He's such a good vibe and we love having conversations together. So I do hope you guys love watching them. Comment down below if you enjoyed this. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.